All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and non binaries, interplanetary, intergalactic time travelers. I salute you. I'm doing a little audio check here, kind of a little bit of experiment. Hopefully, everything's coming in. It seems like it's coming in. Let me see if this SoundCloud. Now, this is Venus and Furs by the Velvet Underground. I don't know if you remember the Velvet Underground, but they are quite wonderful. Venus and Furs, a remix with this guy who goes by First Season. Now, this was 10 years ago. He redid this edit 10 years ago. And basically, I heard it years ago. I could see my comment from years ago on there. I love this. I've loved this song. The band is hit or miss. Lou Reed is, but this is really an interesting. It's a little bit faster with almost kind of like a Moroccan caravan type feel to it. But let's see if you can hear it here.
Sleep for 1,000 years, 1,000 dreams that would awake me. Different colors made of tears. Shiny, shiny, shiny boots of leather. Girl, child in the dark. Severin, your servant, comes in bells. Please don't forsake him. Strike, dear mistress, and cure his heart.
It's a pretty tasty remix. Hopefully, you could hear that. I noticed on a previous live that I did that the video that I was playing, I don't know if it was copyright or censored or how it happened. They didn't tell me what was going on, but it was blank. So there was these long blank pauses. So that was really strange. But anyway, I mean, that's where that it goes, I guess. But I am, did I already do the time and the date and all that? It's 11/20/2022. I want to briefly talk about the mail-in ballots, and I want to talk about the ranked choice voting and how that affects to the elections today. A little bit of pushback on that because it keeps coming up in threads and chats and programmers with huge million subscriber reaches, bad mouthing mail-in ballots. These Republican talking heads seated babbling on about how mail-in ballots are the demise of democracy or whatever the fuck they're spewing. I mean, some of these guys, I really wonder how they even got there. It's kind of encouraging, right? I mean, if these guys can get elected into Congress, you, my friend, can go get elected into Congress. You're smarter and more articulate than these mofos. Holy crap. That's a whole nother story. So basically, what I want to address and touch on. Oh, yeah, let me do this real quick here. So we've got the Astro. Oh, it's reversed. So, and that's the InfoWars sticker on there, but this is basically it is a weekly, if you can see that. It's a daily Astro aspect. So I look up and I can see what's going on. And in generally speaking, with all of the different stars and planets, and there's even comets and different things that they kind of track in here. Now, granted, a lot of astrology is hard for me to digest. And I think that a lot of it's poo-pooed, it's pseudoscience. You've got to be a psychic gypsy palm reader and you're charging $300 an hour, blah, 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 whatever. It's there is some of the elements to that. I don't dispute that, but there is also patterns. I'm presenting to you another avenue and another way of thinking of astrology with astronomy combined. You're following the planets, you're following the stars in their orbits and their routines. Okay, so now when you think about orbits and how something that is round is spinning, right, and its orbit, right? That's what our planets are around the sun, right? I mean, can we agree on that? No, we can't agree on that. We can't even fucking agree that we're orbiting a sun. You've got these dipshit flat earthers who don't believe in orbit. They don't believe we're on a round ball. They don't believe, is the sun flat? The whole cosmos is flat. That's these people. And I'm the wild-eyed conspiracy nut that reads pseudoscience when these guys are on the playing field? Nah, I don't think so, boss. I don't think so. But take it for a grain of salt. I do want to mention this because that's kind of how I use it, is kind of like a stranger danger, if that makes sense. Like alert, alert, alert. It's like when the radar picks up Chinese submarines off the west coast of California, which they're probably right off the west coast of California right now, guys. But this is kind of an alert, a radar, if you will. And I noticed a couple of things back on the 16th. The Venus went into Sagittarius. So Venus is the goddess of love. Venus, yeah, I'm a Taurus. I also have 3 planets in Gemini. But my planet, strong planet, ruling planet is Venus, which I love. Venus, love the goddess of love. She went into Sagittarius. And then we got Mercury going into Sagittarius on the 17th, this last Thursday, just a couple days ago. So 16th, 17th, 2 major clicks into Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the next clusterfuck for us all. And I want to put a positive spin on it. I kind of want to wax it positive, especially after the holy hell that we've come out of with this Scorpio cluster fucks. Scorpio this, Scorpio, 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 Scorpio blood moons, Scorpio dripping blood, lunar eclipses. Holy God, have we not been through hell for weeks? Yes. And we're still, one could argue, in a little bit of hell right now. Purgatory, if you will, huh? You're working up your sins? Atta boy. Atta boy. So the one thing that I'm thinking about, it's not a big deal. It's not like, everything I just said was the big fucking deal. So you've got the sun is entering Sagittarius Tuesday the 22nd. So tomorrow at West Coast Surfer time, Monday, November 20th. Gotta make sure I get this because it's really easy to fuck up the dates and times. Okay? I'm not fucking that up. So I don't think I am. November 2022. Yeah, we're on the right year, Dad. Jesus. Fuck. The 22nd, Tuesday. So I'm sorry. The 21st, tomorrow, is the moon goes into Scorpio. Now, it's not a huge freaking deal, but it kind of is a big fucking deal. Not a fan of Scorpio. So when the moon goes into Scorpio for 2 or 3 days, I get a little nervous. I start thinking about all the crazy shit that these Scorpios are going to do, because they're very unpredictable. They're erratic. They're vengeful. They'll sleep out in cars in front of your home and wait to come get ya. Well, hopefully not. That sounds horrible. Scorpio moon, 3 days. It starts tomorrow, 3:14. It actually is going to feel like 6 hours, 9 hours from now. It's 3:14 a.m. The moon clicks into Scorpio, and that's Scorpio Tuesday. Then the sun goes into Sagittarius. So here's another cluster. The sun going into Sagittarius, The moon is still in Scorpio. So you've got that energy of the Sagittarius. You've got Venus in Sagittarius shooting for the stars. You got Mercury, the race car driver, racing around and around he goes. You got to watch Mercury because that guy is around fast in Sagittarius. So you get this huge Sagittarius cluster, which I don't like clusters just generally speaking. But if it's in Sagittarius, it could be a really dynamic time. But then you've got Wednesday the 23rd, the moon clicks into Sagittarius at 12:16 p.m. West Coast Surfer time. So that would be 3:16 p.m. East Coast time. New moon. New moons can be just as powerful as the full moon. Um, Not to be fucked around with. You don't want to fuck around with the new moon. And you've got it in, then you got Jupiter going direct. Jupiter, the godfather of everybody. 70, 75 moons. He's got little captains. The godfather was 75 little captains racing around the godfather, the biggest mofo up there. Rarely, so slow moving, you never fucking hear about it much at all. Going direct. It's been in retro. So that means what it means direct is that it's looked like it's actually been going backwards in this retrograde, in this long ecliptic loop, way, 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 way back there. And it's now slowly the gas godfather, Jupiter, is going to start going direct. Now, that is fine. It's powerful dynamic timer. People that are okay in the membrane, if they're insane in the membrane, heaven forbid, there's a whole bunch of those motherfuckers out there in the streets. If you haven't been taking a little look-see outside, whole bunch of crazy mofos. It's not so good. It can trigger a pre-existing conditions, and sometimes there's a long list of pre-existing conditions, if you get my drift with these people. Not good. So Wednesday looks like holy hell day, just briefly and just for some people. It'll probably be great for me. I'm going to get some artwork done in the studio. It'll probably be great for you. You can work on the novel or whatever the fuck it is that you're doing creative. You better be doing something creative. You sure in hell better be doing something creative right now. Okay? I love it when you guys doing creative stuff. I mean, that's cool shit. So the moon in Scorpio, Wednesday the 23rd, moon in Scorpio, sun clicks into Sagittarius. And then the moon clicks into Sagittarius at 12:16 p.m. New moon, Jupiter goes direct. That's pow. That is a train wreck. That is a huge explosion. That is huge, serious tectonic plates, is what that is. That could very well be an earthquake, like up in there where you don't want it to be up in there. And it could very well be a tsunami. Been a lot of talk of tsunamis lately. You notice that since the election? Couple of weeks, all I've been hearing about is tsunami. And there was a couple of major 8-point earthquakes where there was tsunami watches. It's not a coincidence. So you've got that happening, and then it's Thanksgiving on the 24th. So it looks intense. This looks like a really intense holiday weekend. I know people like to fly around and do their some of them have to go see their family reunion, or they're summoned to the family, like a subpoena. You're subpoenaed to the family dinner. Thank God I haven't received any subpoenas for family dinners, but we'll have a nice quiet thing here with the cat. I'm going to cook a bird, and I've already ordered the bird, so I already have the bird. So anyway, that looks, and with this stuff happening like this, it can be a day or two before. Now remember, the Scorpio moon, the revenge, the stinger, the domestic violence, like we've been seeing for a couple of weeks since that huge Scorpio cluster that happened through our eclipse season for a couple of weeks back. But sure, haven't we seen a whole hell of a lot of violence in the domestic realm. I mean, my God, it's never stopped. In fact, there's been another 5 students violently massacred in Idaho, which would appears to be probably more than likely some sort of domestic situation or some sort of residual stinger revenge from the past. Could be a stranger. I doubt it. I doubt it. The police aren't saying that, but we'll see what happens from the cell phone pings. They know who it is. They're watching him. They got to be watching him right now. So I hope they get that motherfucker. That was sick shit, man. Sick shit. I know Moscow. I know Northern Idaho. Those are beautiful students. They could have been anybody that I've ever known for decades and decades up through there. Just sick. Just sick. Somebody would sneak in and so violently do that to wonderful people. So anyway, that was much longer than I wanted to do. I did not want to spend 15 minutes on that because then people that don't like pseudoscience and I lose them and blah, blah, blah. I should just go, all right, that's it. Have a good night. Click. And then start with where I wanted to go. But so with the mail-in ballots, one of the things that I keep reading over and over again here with let me back up one step. Now, this general election, it's when things play out longer than people want. It's already tense. They're already biting their nails. They're already anticipating. They already believe the government's been fucking them and screwing them, right? With election shadiness. That's already in their minds. It's already on top of their heads. It's like, oh, here we go. We got more Democrats screwing us with funky ballots. So, but when things go on, they drag on, it compounds that psychologically. It's a pressure cooker. One of those little pressure cookers that pow, they're ready to explode. That's people's brains. That's people's minds, because they don't want that to happen. They feel like on both sides that the country is at a point of no return. It's that serious. And on both sides, you got everybody feels that way. And that's not a good place to be. That's really the spark and the brink of a serious situation for us, like a civil war. We're in a cultural war where one could argue we're in a civil war now. Not good. Not good. So the reason I say that is because we have to develop some sort of, we got to get the public's trust back. We've got to develop some sort of integrity and belief in the elections because, as Malcolm X said, it's ballots before bullets. Ballots before bullets. And that was his way of saying, in a very friendly, casual way, that peace was through the ballots. And if they could get the changes they wanted and elect some people of color, communities of color, whoever they want to represent them, which more than likely it's going to be communities of color, then they need to manifest that or things are going to get violent. They're going to get violent in the streets. They're going to, and we saw that in 2020 with the triggering of all the intelligence officers in the streets, if you will, there with these peaceful protests that burnt down, killed hundreds of people, executed dozens of officers. 2020, 2020. You forgot 2020? No, we didn't forget 2020. That's why we had a red wave. That's why we had a red tsunami this election. And the blue mirage wanted to tell us they won. Did you notice that? This blue mirage, these Democrats, they were all over everywhere saying, oh no, we're going to count these for weeks. Drip, 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 one ballot at a time. And I see this like blue-haired old lady, just little envelope opener, just one little, okay, there. Looks like they voted for Carrie Lake. It's like, okay, we're going to mark that down. Okay. I mean, I see this very like Xanax slow motion vote counting going on, right? That's the way it felt. Well, we have to digest that and accept that these things are going to take longer. The elections, we are at a point where it is 50-50. It's 49-50. It's 51-49. We're right there at the cusp. Right here in Oregon, we had majors that were down on that. The governors were below 50, but just like that, 44% to 43, 45 to 44, and 46, 47 to 44, 45. We were right there underneath the 50, below the threshold, below a mandate. I don't like that. I don't think anyone should be elected if they don't have at least 50% of the threshold. That's not fair to me. That's not democratic, in my opinion. And that's where instant runoff voting comes into play. That's ranked choice voting, or what I prefer, another IRV method, score then automatic runoff, STAR, star voting, which is also instant runoff voting. Very similar to ranked choice voting, but instead of ranking, this is my number one, this is, I could live with number two, and if they can't number three, all right, number three. Ranked choice voting. Star voting is just like you do with your motels, just like you do with your restaurants, just like we've been doing for decades in America. 5 stars, right? 1 star or 0 star, it sucks real bad. 5-star is couldn't have done anything. It was absolutely perfect. This candidate is my dream candidate. Okay. So that would be 5 stars. So the person with the most stars votes, right, wins. So that helps kind of break down the vote, and you could spread out the stars how you see fit rather than saying this is number one, and if they can't do it or if it gets close, here's the number two. So this whole ranked choice thing, which is fine. I've learned to accept it for the most part, just because it's so much more popular and it seems to be gaining traction. I can accept that. It is an instant runoff voting. Now, the benefits of the ranked choice voting, I've been hearing all kinds of people trashing ranked choice voting, calling it garbage, calling it crap, calling it a Democrat scam to get Democrats elected. Look at Alaska. Oh my God, Sarah Palin lost. Sarah Palin lost in Alaska because Sarah Palin ain't popular in Alaska anymore. Is that a breaking news update? Ranked choice voting had nothing to do with Sarah Palin's shit-ass performance. She abandoned the governorship when she was a governor under a whole bunch of heated investigations of inappropriate activity. She abandoned Alaska voters. She abandoned the position. She walked the plank on her own pirate ship. That's Sarah Palin. That's why Sarah Palin is doing so poorly. She's probably bounced out. Okay. So that's not, you can't blame mail-in ballots because of underperforming or blah, blah, blah. You can't blame ranked choice voting for Sarah Palin's sorry ass. See? The Alaska. Now, there is flaws. I'm not going to say it's 100%, because people do get elected where you've got up to 40% of the population says that motherfucker win. That motherfucker, she won. Fuck her. You're still got that dynamic. But what it does with ranked choice voting is you go down. So you got the people that are gridlocked, which they are right now. I think it's 2 Republicans, Murkowski and it's another Republican. It looked like they had 3 Republicans. They do a weird thing up there where it's top 4. So California does this epic failed top 2. So you can have 2 Republicans or 2 Democrats. There's no variety. None of the third party gets on the ballot. Why do you think California has been dominating politics with the blues down there for so long? Why do you think the blue Democrat Party in California has been kicking our fucking asses? Why? Top 2 bullshit. Top 2 means we got 2 Democrats or we got 2 Republicans and there's no third party on the ballot. That's 2-party control. It's total crap. Well, Alaska does this weird top 4. I'm still trying to wrap my head around top 4. I sure as all fuck no top 2 sucks balls. So it's not a good thing. So, but the ranked choice voting, it allows those votes, the people that voted on a second. So the libertarian, those votes could be counted, or the next level candidate. Their second picks, the people that voted, won their number ones on those either top two contenders, gaining the top two on the number ones. Those folks' number two picks now get to go into play. And so there's a Democrat that was there. And so who did those Democrat voters that voted for the Democrat, who did they go to? Did they prefer Murkowski as the number two because she's more of a rhino and more of a moderate? Probably. So in that case, it'll probably advance. Ranked choice voting will probably give a little bit of an edge or advantage to Murkowski. And she's got the name recognition. There's a whole bunch of people that like her and they feel comfortable with the same old status quo, blah, blah, blah. So that's that analysis there. So what's happening? Let me apply that same type of thinking with here in Oregon. So Oregon, we had the governor's race. We had Tina Kotek, which is an establishment hack. She had failed Obama. She had the pretendian Elizabeth Warren fly in and stump for her, and all these failed Democrat con artists. That hurt her. In my opinion, she thought she's all bringing the heavy hitters and they're going to help me with these independents. No, it didn't, Tina. You nearly lost your ass. In fact, you didn't even get 50%. She didn't even make the threshold. So what should have happened in that case, in this case here in Oregon, with ranked choice voting, is we should have had the third player, Betsy Johnson, who used to be a Democrat, likes gun rights, very unique, interesting candidate. I do like her. But I voted for Drazen because for a number of reasons, I thought she was a stronger candidate all around. And, but the Betsy Johnson vote. So when things are at below 50, below a threshold, then you come down to the other voices, the other ballots from the other candidate. Who did they side with? Who were their number two picks? Right? They sure in the hell weren't voting for Tina. If they were Tina establishment hacks with the Democrat Party, which none of Betsy Johnson's voters were, that's why they're Betsy Johnson fans. That's why they worked on Betsy Johnson's campaign, unaffiliated, which is independent in most states. But here in Oregon, we have an independent party. It's kind of a scam, kind of a joke. It's how it started, and they actually have a platform, so they're not unaffiliated. So she was running as unaffiliated. Those votes from Betsy Johnson would have been enough to go to Kristen Drazen, and Drazen would be the governor of Oregon right now. The first time we've had a Republican in 40 years since Governor Tom McCall. That's how that would have happened in Oregon. This is why the Democrats are fighting it. So when I hear all these Republicans going, oh, this is ranked choice voting's a big garbage haul for the Democrats, a big scam, and bah, 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 I know right away they don't know what the fuck is going on. There's pluses and minuses to it. There's more pluses than there is negatives with ranked choice voting. We have a threshold. We would be able to have somebody with a mandate here in Oregon. Now, what I just described could have played out in Arizona. Kari Lake. If ranked choice voting would have been in Arizona and Kari Lake, you would have had them neck and neck with the establishment con artist, Hobbs, then just like what the lineup was here in Oregon, very similar. The Libertarians, which he was, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was pulling in like 6%. 6% for a third party is no fucking joke, guys. Listen, man, if you're pulling in 6% as a third party, that's a slam dunk in my book. He threw in the towel, gave up, and said, told all of his followers and voters, Kari Lake, we have to beat the corruption. We have to beat the establishment hack, who's also serving as the Secretary of State, right? There's no conflicts of interest there. Oh, hell yes, there's conflicts of interest there. She never should have been overseeing the elections of her own governorship. That's a lawsuit right there. God, I hope they I hope they stop her. I hope they stop that situation. And my animosity with her goes back because we had William Pounds with the Independent Green Party running for governor, and she actively cut his signatures to get him on the ballot, cut him short. Now remember, she's running for governor. She's overseeing and handling. She's the top dog of the entire Secretary of State, overseeing all the elections. So she prevented the more progressive. She prevented William Pounds from getting on the ballot so she could corrupt and manipulate the votes and steal. Technically, yes, I said it. This will probably get me striked to pull it down. Steal an election because she was able to block William Pounds. So that's the one thing right there that she needs to be called out on. And Carrie Lake was very friendly and very open, saying you need to include William Pounds in the debate. Well, of course she was too scared to debate because she's an idiot. She's an idiot. She's not smart on her feet, and she's not smart in a debate. And Carrie Lake would have kicked her ass. I think she did kick her ass, to be quite honest. So what's happening down there is something that we have to analyze because it's in my arguments for the mail-in ballots. All ballots need a barcode. A barcode. Now, I've just heard that somebody heard us talking about this. Somebody heard us barking in the night. Somebody heard us howling at the moon, which is exactly what I just said because I think it was Democrats. What is it? It's not ethics committee, but it's oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on. I don't have the story up on the bar there, but I could look it up real quick. But it's something to do with the committee that oversees rules and regulations. They are suggesting that all mail-in ballots have barcodes. That's how we've done it in Oregon for decades and decades. That's how we know that the ballots are real and the ballots are valid. That's how we know it's a barcode. The barcode connects with the voter. It connects with them who've shown their voter ID. They have their address confirmed. It's on record, and there's a signature. There's a signature verification on the ballot. So what happened in Arizona, this is me thinking here, it hasn't come out yet. What happened in Arizona is sneaky little Katie went in there and she got the machines to kick out so many of the signature verifications, just enough to bring the ballots down for Carrie Lake. That means that people didn't know that their signature verified. They didn't realize that they didn't sign exactly how they had it on the computer, which is on the file connected to the barcodes. Are you with me? Are you following? Barcodes, just like everything that you buy at the grocery store, there's a barcode. Every single ballot has a barcode, is just as unique as every single one item in the grocery store. Where that product was made, what's in it, what's blah blah blah, the price and all this and that, any kind of variables, just like demographics. Right? Are you with me? Come on now. I know you guys are with me. So these barcodes is how we prevent what happened in 2020. Now, with the corona, with the pandemic, with all that hysteria, with all this disease and sickness, right? There was universal ballots. So the federal Democrats on the federal level came in and overrode the constitutional right for each state and each state legislator to oversee their federal elections. That's the law. Folks, that's the Constitution. That's what we've been doing for decades and decades and decades and decades. It's not the federal. Nobody on the federal national level. No operatives of any kind ever have never done it before and will never do it again. Control the ballot in the elections on the state side, the state level. That is the role and responsibility by our Constitution. The states to conduct their elections. So that universal mail out ballot had all kinds of weird, funky things that happened. People were getting 10, 11, 12 ballots. Why do I have several ballots to my house? Why were there all these ballots mailed to the old address? And what is all of this? Why is this happening? None of that should have happened. None of that is a clean, productive, integrity building voting exercise. None of that. And you know it, Democrats. I know it as an independent green libertarian, and whatever the fuck you want to call me. I don't know. I'm a painter just working on a new red wave painting here. Like that? It's going to be great. But this is really critical to understand. Okay? Conservatives, patriots, Republicans, I'm talking to you. Okay? How we do mail-in ballots with barcodes is not what happened in 2020 with the hysteria, the Wuhan flu, which is really Fort Detrick flu, which is really the Fauci ouchie. But that's a whole nother video, right? Or is it? It's all one long video. It's like Neil Young. It's all one long song. It's all one long video with the elections. But so let me digress there a little bit. That was a lot to digest, but I didn't really say anything controversial. Didn't say anything that should get the video removed. Okay. All I'm saying is that the barcodes for tracking weren't used because there was too many sent out in a massive flooding of toxic ballots that were not quarantined, were not healthy. And it jeopardized. What the most damage was the psychological damage it did to our voters, the psychological damage it's done to the republic, the psychological damage. It may not be repairable. Now, the sooner that these Democrat elitists, the sooner that these liberals understand that, the better off we all are. We're dealing with psychological dynamics that are not shallow, but very deep in the voters' minds. It's not to be taken lightly. It's a very serious situation. Remember the Malcolm X mantra? It's ballots before bullets. We don't want bullets. Nobody wants the bullets. I sure as fuck don't want them. I know you don't. I know Republicans and patriots don't. Nobody wants bloodshed. We want to be able to synergistically interact. And however we've got to do that, there's a whole nother video we could do at another time. Whether it's a peaceful divorce, have each county operate as a state. That's my idea, by the way. Or have the states operate as their own country, but we're a part of a federation, much like Russia, the old Soviet Union when it split up, right? They're a part of a Russian federation, but they're all independent. Okay? And we don't need a little guy that's got, his finger on nukes. We don't need that either. But you follow me? So I mean, there's different dynamics. That's a whole nother video. Let's just deal with where we're at right now. We're still together. We're not really yet talking about, although we should be. We're not talking about a peaceful divorce quite yet, although I do think we should be. So we have to install integrity with the mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots, it helps get out the vote. Okay, now ballot harvesting, I don't like. I've seen a lot of shady practices here in the decades in Oregon where people go out ballot harvesting. And I know how they do it. I know how the union operates. They've all got lists. They know everybody's names. You knock on their doors and you're, hey, Larry, you got their names. Hey, Larry. Yeah. Huh, what? How you know my name? Well, Larry, I got you right here, buddy. You've been a great union member. God bless you for your service, and God bless all the work you've done, Larry. Hey, Larry, did you get your ballot in? Oh, you didn't get your ballot in, Larry? Hey, Larry, let's do that right now. This is probably the most important election of our lifetimes, Larry. Oh, I know it is. Yeah. God almighty, these Democrats. Okay, sit down, Larry. Let's get this done. Let's get this together, Larry. Don't forget to sign your ballot, Larry. If you don't sign that ballot, Larry, I'll tell you right now, that's going to be invalidated, Larry, and we don't want your ballot getting kicked out, Larry. Okay, so that's the whole thing you're doing. You got Larry or Sally or whoever else is in there. And a lot of times they really manipulate people that are having cognitive thinking issues, like nursing homes, retirement homes, or facilities where there's thousands and thousands of ballots in one building. See? So I know the manipulations with that, but as it is in some of the states, it's state by state law. Republicans, patriots, conservatives, independents. We have got to take advantage of the legal laws because the Democrats are doing it and they're doing it to us hard. They go door to door and they pick up people's ballots and they take them back and they're getting ballots that never would have been counted. If they're going to do that, you've got to do it yourselves, ourselves, collectively. We had a thing called the Bus Project they said they were independents. They said they were a nonprofit, and it really was just a bunch of jackass merry pranksters that were trying to boost up Democrats. And they did. They boosted up Democrat here in Oregon, the Bus Project. And I haven't seen them. I don't know what happened. I think somebody ended up having a breakdown, or it was probably cocaine and strippers or something. No in Oregon and the Democrats. And it probably was drugs and strippers and, boom booms and cha-chas. Who knows? But somehow they disappeared in the abyss. That template is exactly what the Republicans need. Just like you're doing with these campaign buses, you need those bus projects, and you could call them independent. You could say their voter registration hotline. Oh, hey, we're just here to get you registered. That's what all these fucks do. And then they're really bringing in and getting out the ballot of whoever party that they are a little partial to, they're fond of, right? It's how they do it. So that could be happening, like a bus project type of thing where you're going around, and that would be fun in Oregon. I mean, I'd love to do that. I mean, you go out into these smaller counties, into these all areas, summertime. I mean, it's just fun, really. You could make it into a fun thing. But that has to happen on that level as well. So all of this it's so delicate. I feel like that what's that Hurt Locker, that movie Hurt Locker, where it's just, that movie made me wanted to puke because it was like it was just crazy. If you know what I'm talking about, it's the bomb technician. He's got this suit on, it's like in a scuba gear, and you hear these high pitch clip clip clip, red, green, blue. It's disconnected. Hurt Locker. That's what I feel like is a good metaphor for our politics right now. We are, as a country, we are in I think it's called Hurt Locker. Isn't it Hurt Locker? I think it's Hurt Locker. I could be wrong. But that movie of where you got to detonate the explosives, right? And they had these guys fucking doing that in Iraq. Horrible fucking shit to have those guys dress up and suit up like that to go clip wires on explosive devices, intermittent explosive devices on the side of the roads. And God, what a nightmare. But that's really where we're at. Politically, we've got to turn that around. We're going to need to develop some voter integrity, election integrity, a little bit more honor and respect. It's going to take time. We don't have a lot of time, do we? And this needs to be done a lot quicker than slower, but that needs to happen. And so we've got to develop some more patience, especially with ranked choice voting. I mean, look at Alaska. Another thing that they were taking ballots until like the 18th of November. I mean, that's another thing that they changed the law here in Oregon that you could mail your ballot on the day on election day. So the 8th, they're saying now, which we've never done before for decades and decades and decades. And now these Democrats in power with their big dipshit ideas said, yeah, you can drop it in the mail which means 2, 3, 4 days until it comes through the mail and then it gets counted through the elections office. Well, if that's what you're going to do, you need to wait until all the ballots are counted. None of this projection bullshit, none of this media manipulation. I mean, we all are calling that out. It's crap. You don't call Fox News calling the election for Biden before any ballots were counted. It stinks of fraud. It's the kind of thing that makes people get triggered and snap and go do horrible things that they never should be doing. I'm looking really grainy there. It looks super greeny. I'm not sure what happened. I think my pixels dropped or something. But anyway, I want to wrap it up too. It's 45 minutes. It's way too long. So just to kind of recap and conclude, it's if you're going to tell people, get rid of those laws. If you're going to putting ballots in the mail on the same day in Alaska, I mean, what the hell's going on up there? Is that just in case you get snowed in for 2 weeks? So they're accepting ballots till the 18th of November? Why? What the fuck? And that whole ranked choice voting, it takes time. That tally is a total different process. It takes much more time than whether you're just doing first past the post and going for the two top establishment candidates. Listen, there's one thing that we can all agree on. Why would I be advocating for these things? Because I don't want the incumbents to sit there forever for 100 years. You with me? You hear me? Right? If it isn't term limits, which I support term limits, we can't have 200-year-old dinosaurs, shuffling through Congress. They've been there. They knew Noah when Noah was building an ark, for Christ's sake. Way too long. You've worn out your welcome. If you're 90 years old and you're still waxing the floors of Congress, you're way outweighed your welcome. Long overdue, Speaker Pelosi. Long overdue, Mitch. Long overdue, Ron Wyden from Oregon. Long overdue for retirement, Jeff Merkley. We're tired of old dinosaur white guys who think they're representing the state, and they're not. They're representing 35% of Oregon. They're representing 40% of the country, when it's a whole lot more people that are saying, we don't believe in your process because you're not including our voices. We build integrity and faith in the system through peaceful ballots and voting by developing integrity through the election, through the system. And that has to happen through a whole bunch of things that I've already mentioned. And we may not be able to do them all. But if we can come up with this mindset that, yes, it's not going to be decided within hours of election day, okay? That is not going to happen. That's not the plan. That doesn't mean that they're cooking the ballots, although in Arizona, I think they actually kicked enough of those signature verify. We need signature verify, but people are not being told sign exactly the way you signed it when you did your voter registration. Do you hear me? Let me repeat it. Sign it exactly the way you did it when you did your voter registration, because that's what went into the computer. They took a snapshot of your signature off of your voter registration when you did that, which you need to do by law every time you move, or if you want to change a political party. But if you move, which most people on the West Coast are having to move a lot more than they'd like to because of high rents and the cost of living. So when you move, you have to fill out a new voter registration by law, and that aligns you with that. Your ballots, you should not be getting old ballots sent to your old place. And that's exactly what they uncovered in 2020 and even 2016. I heard that, where ballots are being sent to multiple places that people have lived, and they're not even getting one at the new address. So that signature verify, let me go back to that final point. That signature verify, people, and this is the other thing, and like, it's not against the law. I don't believe it's against the law for husband, wife, husband, whatever, wife, whatever it is, to sign a ballot for their partner, right? Because I think legally by law, they can sign the checks on the financial. Now, double check on that. Maybe it's state by state on the laws on that. I'm not sure, to be honest. But it crossed my mind. It's like, well, What if the wife is signing the husband's signature? Okay. She doesn't know exactly how he signed it. She isn't going to be able to do exactly how he signs it, or vice versa. He's doing her signature. So that signature verify is kicking out a whole bunch of patriots. They don't know that it's been kicked out unless they have the barcode in the tracking app. We have that. You can opt in Oregon. That should be every state. It should be everywhere it go. The overview committee that's now presenting that. Take notice, ladies and gentlemen, and reps and Congress people. This is very significant of what's being proposed right now. Barcodes for all the ballots. That's how we track. That's how we do signature verify. That's how everything is eliminated with fluff and extra ballots. Okay. And then there needs to be voter roll purges. Right now is the perfect time. We can compare 2020 ballot rolls. Who were all those people that were on there? Where did all those ballots get sent out to? Now let's compare it to the actual real people that turned in a ballot and signed the ballot, right? And send out a notice to all those people. Every single state should be doing this right now to clean up the voter rolls. This is not trying to, there's nothing racist about it. This is about building integrity, election integrity, voting integrity. Okay. We don't want junk ballots. We don't want fake made up pseudonym ballots. We want real legitimate ballots. That's how we build integrity. That's how we build safe and effective, not vaccines, ballots and elections, safe and effective elections. See? So that signature verify, there nobody's talking about it. I never heard it once where people say, make sure you sign exactly how you sign your name and how you did it on your voter registration. It'll get kicked out, and they're calling it curing. You got to come cure your ballot. It got kicked out. People aren't going down to cure it. And then you've got the other long lines. I heard people, all the machines. How sus is that, ladies and gentlemen? You got machines just in Patriot, conservative, Republican districts and counties that 30% of them aren't working. They're trying to get 20-inch ballot paper into a 19-inch vote tabulator. Little Katie didn't know that the papers were 20-inch and the tabulators were 19-inch. Oh, Katie, if you can't handle as Secretary of State, how in the fuck do you think Arizonians are going to think you can handle the governorship? You can't. And you know you can't. You're over your head. You're over your head. And you might have just broken the law. And you should have recused yourself, just like a judge that has a conflict of interest or anybody else on a committee that's got a conflict of interest. You do the proper thing and you recuse yourself from the election. That's what integrity would do. You obviously lacking integrity, Katie, if you didn't recuse yourself, remove yourself from overseeing all the elections that makes you governor as Secretary of State. That's appalling. That's gross. Once that comes out to the country and comes out into the courts, you're done. You should be done. But we'll see what happens. So I didn't got way long-winded on that, but I stayed on focus, and I think I made some pretty valid points. Ranked choice voting, it is a bigger voice, it's a bigger net, and you go down to candidates that never would have been a significant player, keep them in the game. The Libertarian needs, third parties need a certain amount of the votes to maintain ballot access. This is how the two-party duopoly continues to knock our dicks in the dirt. This is how they do it. They do it through manipulation and working together as the top two. The Libertarian never should have felt like he needed to bow out to get rid of the corruption of Katie and to back Carrie Lake. He should have been to say, you know what? We've got some key things on our platform and my messaging that I'll stay in. And my voters, the Libertarian, my voters, who their second pick will be the deciding factor. And I can tell you right now, that would have been Carrie Lake. That would have been Carrie Lake, because the Libertarians, there would have been more that would have sided with Carrie Lake than they would have ever have thought about corrupt Katie as a second pick. So we would have seen right there, we would have seen a threshold, 50% mandate, and Carrie Lake, the obvious greater, more popular, and more competent governor, win Arizona. Same thing could be said. We could jump over to Georgia. Same thing could be said with Georgia. That election could be done. Over. Now they're going to spend hundreds of millions. How many hundreds of millions? $400 million on the election, $500 million on this runoff election, $500 million. Do you have any idea how much low-income housing that would build from Florida, who's been just blasted out like a nuclear bomb going off on a tropical storm twice? Ian, and then was it Nikki, whatever it was. That would build a lot of affordable housing, hundreds of millions of dollars. Instead, you choose to piss it into the wind in advertisement and smear campaigns. I mean, there is something really seriously wrong with our thinking in America, where to spend $500 million, $500 million with a B, makes sense in attack ads rather than taking care of our brothers and sisters who don't have a home after a tropical storm and a hurricane. That is immoral. It's unethical. It's disgusting. It should not be happening, period. But ranked choice voting, there wouldn't be this runoff. You would have saved $500 million. People come together or not come together to build housing. Probably more than likely not come together. But from as much as I'm observing and watching you people operate, we can't build housing, huh? We can't take care of the low income. That's welfare, huh? But you're going to spend all this money into the military industrial complex to go arm literal Nazi Azov battalion in Ukraine. Billions and billions and billions of dollars to go fuck up shit in a Slavic civil war. But we can't. You want to bitch and whine like little whiny when it comes to taking care of low-income homeless. If you can spend that money in Ukraine with Nazis, we sure in the fuck can build some small affordable housing for the tens of, probably close to a couple million people who need housing. They don't need much. A couple 100 square feet in a dry apartment will do. They're not asking for mansions. They're not asking for a swimming pool. They need basic housing. But ranked choice voting there in Georgia would have solved it. It would have been over, and who would have won? Herschel Walker. Why? Because that third player would have voted for Herschel Walker. I think the Libertarian was named Oliver. Still wondering if there's any connection. I have no idea. It's a heck of a lot of Olivers, but it all comes back to one tree. And, well, that's not true. I don't know. I digress. I think his name was Oliver or something Oliver, and in the Libertarian, and they sure in the hell would have voted for Walker long before they would have voted for the slumlord who's got black mold apartments and he's evicted people, saying that he's a pastor and saying he's a man of God. He's evicting people out of their homes for less than $50 in back rent. That's Warnock. That's the Democrat Warnock. Slum lord of apartments evicting people for less than $50 of back rent. That's the guy you want to keep in power. That's the man of God that you think is doing righteous in Georgia. Hell no. Hell no. Warnock needs to go. Period. You can say what you want with Herschel Walker, but I take great offense to say that that guy is anything less than a genius. If you've heard him speak, Herschel Walker is a brilliant man. And he's got stories to tell. traumatized childhood. He was beat up. Didn't even go out on the playground for 4 or 5 years. He talks about it in his speech. He's been talking about it on the campaign trail. He personalizes his campaigns. He says what happened to him as a child that changed him and made him a better man. So fuck you, Dave Chappelle. I mean, you've got chalky crack white around your lips from your failures for a long, long time, David Chappelle. And you have no right to be attacking the IQ or the intelligence of Herschel Walker on mainstream Saturday Night Live rag. Fuck you, buddy. Herschel Walker is a good man. He's a good man. And he sure in the hell is not a slumlord piece of crap like Warnock, evicting people in the Christmas time with less than $50 owing in rent. That's a real piece of work. That's somebody that's working not with God, but with the other side. Okay? That campaign, that race would be done right now. Walker would be the winner just because of the ranked choice voting. So that's how that goes. You go down the voices down below. Who voted down below? The voices of the lesser known, bringing in the less amount of votes. Their voices now matter. Their voices now build a coalition with Walker. See? Anyway, so that's enough preaching for me. I got worked up there, man. I'll tell you. When it comes to housing and to read that guy was evicting people, I think he was even doing it out of the church nonprofit umbrella. So they create these like religious nonprofits so they don't have to pay taxes. Then they go and buy real estate and motels, apartments, or whatever. I don't know exactly how it played out. This is just my thinking on it. I'm speculating. And then so he's got the saving of this nonprofit status of 501c4 or whatever the religious exemption is. So it protects him, protects his bank, protects his pocket. And then in the name of God, he's evicting people and families, evicting them out of a work of God, as he claims. No, fuck him. So fuck Dave Chappelle too on that, just for that one. I like him normally, but that was so tacky to call him anything less than intelligent was, it's not true. You listen to him I did listen to him on the whole campaign trail. I was dropping in on live streams on Herschel Walker. He's an excellent man. He's a good guy, man. This is a good guy. It's a good guy. He's thinking about the people. He doesn't need to do this shit. It's just like Trump. Trump's got all kinds of money. What do you think he's doing this for? He's not doing it for his ego. You guys are pissing and crapping on him all day long, every day. There ain't no ego boost there. He's doing it for the people. He's in it for we, the people. When you see those people, you need to vote for them. You need to support them. You need to carry some water for them. You need to get involved. And we need to bring back some amount of integrity to the election system, diffuse things, and it's going to take time. It sure in the hell shouldn't take 3 weeks, and it sure in the hell, like Arizona, shouldn't come down to where 80% of the voter registrations that are kicked out, the ballots that are kicked out, need to be cured, need to be healed in Arizona, tend to be the Republican patriots who probably vote in more than likely 99.9% voting for Carrie Lake. That's not cool. It doesn't look good. And we're going to see the truth come out on that. People need to be held accountable, especially, her, who. We've been talking about her for an hour. So anyway, that's what I've got. I hope that I was able to give you a new perspective on mail-in ballots. It's not all junk science. There is some beauty to it if there's barcodes. There's an overview committee now that is proposing that everyone use that. And somebody, I don't know exactly who, but somebody said, no, we need voter ID in addition to the barcodes. The barcodes are as good as voter ID because the barcodes connect to the name, the address, the how many times they voted, where they voted, all of those things are in the barcode. It goes out to the house, it goes out to one address. It'll tell you how many, if there's multiple ballots that were sent out. All of that will be trackable and traceable, and you're able to audit it. We couldn't audit 2020 because there was no barcodes, and we couldn't separate anything from legitimate from illegitimate, from contaminated to not contaminated ballots. That's what the problem was. People, when they're talking about the demise of 2020, they're talking about the election system where there was millions and millions of ballots that couldn't be traced. They had no barcodes. There was no barcodes because there was no recommendation, there was no law, and we were in a state of hysteria, which I tend to think was a part of the plan, to trust the plan, if you will. Brought to you by the Lincoln Project, right? So anyway, big ups. Just to recap, Wednesday, I actually think tomorrow with Scorpio moon, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Jupiter goes direct at 3:02 p.m. West Coast time in Scorpio on a new moon. I don't feel good about it. I'm sorry. People are predictable. People have lost their minds. We're seeing them. It's you don't have to be a psychic gypsy palm reader to know that there's trouble, but there is certain times that I personally believe. I know you think it's voodoo pseudoscience, but I personally believe that there's certain vibrations, and then you combine with like now and tomorrow the CMEs, the solar flares, right? So we have all this solar activity from the solar cycle 25 that's totally unhinged. But these different dynamics, we can see the patterns. We can see these more opportunities for people to be triggered, right? We can see people every single day. I see people that are not well. Everywhere I go, if I'm on the bus, on the train, if I go to the grocery, it's like there's social services with no social service workers. It's like an insane asylum where there's no doctors or nurses. There's nobody available to help anybody. Nobody there to nurse Sunshine isn't there with the medication in the window, which that actually is what a lot of people actually need. They need some medication. They need vitamins, really. But vitamins, medications, therapeutics, things that are tried and trusted, not experimental things that killed all the animals in trial. If there was even any trial, it's absolutely insane. Anyway, I've been too long-winded. Peace out. God bless. Thank you.